I'll even start with the planning because really the work that we're doing, it looks at development as a whole process, a pipeline, and the beginning of the pipeline is planning. Then there's zoning, and then there's permitting and construction of projects. So the focus in most of our communities tends to be at the end of the pipeline, right? Projects get uh, proposed, and then there's development fights over it. And the reason why you have all these development fights is because there hasn't been enough time and effort spent at the beginning of the process to build that community consensus about what do we want our community to look like for the next generation. And if we do that, then that should happen at the planning stage. Right now, it's very difficult for communities to do planning, so there are very few communities have current master plans, but most communities want to do it. But they don't have the staff to do it. They don't have the money to hire consultants to do it. It costs, a city like Worcester would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to do a good master plan. So one of the things that we're trying to do in our legislation is to make it easier for communities to master plan, to be able to take what's important to them and build their master plan around that, and also to build on some of the smaller district plans or neighborhood plans that they may have already done, and use that to leverage what they're doing. And then we'd like to, and I think that the state needs to provide more resources for that. So that's a conversation I think that we're going to have over the next year or two, is how do we do that? Because cities and towns increasingly understand these issues. They want to become more sustainable and walkable, but there's just not a lot of money out there for it. The state doesn't have a lot of money either, but we have to decide that it's a priority, and compared to some of the things that suck up a lot of money, it really is not a lot. A few $1 million could go a long way across the state. So I think that's one thing. And then once you have some consensus around what your town or city should look like, then you need to change your zoning. And this is the second barrier that communities face, that even if they do some good planning, it's really hard to change zoning. And one of the reasons for that is because we require, unlike most of the country, what's called a supermajority vote to change zoning. And effectively, that means you need to have 2/3 or greater vote by public officials in order to adopt the zoning. So it can be very, very difficult barrier to get over. And in fact, in some towns, it's really almost possible because you have town meeting, and you don't know who's going to show up for town meeting, but you need to get 2/3 of those people informed about these sometimes complicated issues and have them vote for change. So it's